That's really way happening. Cool. Good for him.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to take them to the airport that morning, which is Wednesday. I didn't see on my. Oh yeah.
So let's.
Here's Johnny. Oh.
Yeah, 4.0. No, that's the wrong one. All right. Welcome, everyone. Appreciate everyone's time tonight. And everyone should, hey, John, can you raise your hand if you can see the full screen? Thank you, kind sir. You're my man. I love it. Okay. And you can see us too, right, John?
I don't know about us.
That's great.
I'm not on the
Okay.
screen, am I?
All right. Not yet. Not
That's
yet.
it.
All right. All right, everyone. Welcome to a presentation by Dr. Michael Einsohn. And I just wanted to let you know that this is going to be a reframing of health. And it's going to be a reframing in a lot of new ways, mostly because we are looking at reframing the yearly functional physical exam. So usually you all have a regular physical exam, which we'll get into the presentation, but this is kind of going beyond that and really discovering your function of health, right? And the only way that you can do that is to understand the function of every major organ in your body and beyond. So with regulation thermography, that allows us to do that. In conjunction with that, we use something called an oligo scan, which is a heavy metal test that allows us to see precisely how much heavy metals is in your body and whether or not your body can actually excrete it and what your mineral levels look like and some hidden things that might be going on. So this kind of goes in a new scope of your health. You know, this allows us to see so many different facets, which we're about to dive into. And I just also wanted to let everyone know that we are going to be in Ventura, May 11th through the 15th. So we're flying in next Friday, and it's going to be very exciting. And so we're going to be landing in Ventura Friday night, and we're going to be starting to take patients first thing Saturday morning on the 11th. And we'll be staying in Ventura until around the 15th, and then we will be leaving there to go to Los Angeles. And we'll be in Los Angeles the 16th through the 19th. And actually on the 16th, just so that everyone knows, we will be doing a live presentation on that day. So that should be a lot of fun. And then we'll be taking appointments mostly on the 17th, 18th, and 19th. And then we'll be driving down to Oceanside and spending time with Dr. Winkler and Dr. Carolyn Candido. And we will be at their place taking appointments. And as you can see on the screen, and those that can't see, we'll be offering a thermogram and a full workup for $7.99. And if you get the heavy metal test done at the same time, it'll be an additional $200. And this is, you know, a major just one-time investment. So after this first investment, just so that everyone knows, the follow-up visits can be anywhere between 3 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, you know, give or take, depending on what your needs are. And when you do that follow-up visit, it's only $150. So it's not going to be this price. It's this price, just the first initial visit, so that we can get very acquainted with each other and also spend the first couple weeks after your appointment really communicating. Dr. Michael is very unique in the sense that he really wants you to, quote unquote, as we've heard from patients, bother him. So we really want you to communicate with him on a daily basis about any questions, about anything. And so that's included in this price, knowing that his time, he's going to overextend. And I do truly mean overextend himself, because he loves texting. He loves email, he loves phone calls, he loves it all. And so it's really up to you guys after you have your appointment to communicate with him, and you can do it nonstop or you can do it at none at all. And so we've seen both realms, and I can tell you firsthand, and I'm sure he can speak to this at a later point, that people that communicate with him either on a daily basis or even every other day will grow by leaps and bounds in their health after this initial testing and appointment than people that wait a full 3 weeks and then just do a follow-up. So this is included in the pricing, is his time over the first initial couple weeks to spend time with you guys on any questions that you might have, because it's going to be a lot of information, right? We're putting literally in an hour and a half, we're putting a year's worth of information in an hour and a half whenever you do this appointment. So clearly, you won't be able to get it all in one fell swoop, and we know that, and that's why we extend ourselves to this degree. So just to introduce, Dr. Michael Einsohn has completed over 20,000 thermograms. He's mentored over 200 doctors and has been a consultant for the Cancer Treatment Centers of America. His first degree was in biochemistry, followed by a degree in chiropractic. He was the first chiropractor on a medical hospital staff in the state of Texas. He has operated holistic, nutritionally based practices for over 30 years. He studied natural healing in Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, South and Central America to complement his expertise and enable him to work with conditions using natural remedies. He opened the first Thermography Diagnostic Center in the US called Thermography Center of Dallas. So now I present Dr. Michael Einsohn, and he'll take it away for us.
I appreciate you all connecting tonight, and that was a great intro. That's going to allow us to go through things rather quickly, but you need to stay open and flexible to look at the view of our healthcare today and see that there's many ways that it falls short and doesn't serve us. So we've been operating under a certain paradigm for quite a long time. We go in, we get our physical exam, we do our blood work. If everything looks great, we say we're healthy. If things are not right, then you get some kind of prescription for another exam, which could be a neck exam, a head exam, an abdominal exam, a neurological exam, an extremity exam. It could be a circulatory exam. It could be a heart exam. It could be an EKG. It could be so many different things. In the male world, we can wind up getting, a testicular exam, a hernia exam, something that examines the prostate, or for women, we can get a pelvic exam or a breast exam. And those things haven't served us, because we know that every 6 minutes in this country, another woman is diagnosed with breast cancer. We know that the leading cause of death in this country is still heart attack, and they still call it the silent killer. So those tools are not serving us. When we get a blood exam, we might have 3 or 4 markers that examine the function of a liver, where the liver does close to 1,000 different functions. So we have to look for something new, and this tool is not new. This tool was designed by medical doctors in Germany, where they did a 20,000 patient study, and they documented all the temperature changes. They found out what was normal, what was abnormal, brought it to this country, and it got immediately accepted by the FDA. So why we're showing some of these things, this slide that's up right now shows that misdiagnoses range about 40% of the time. And that's pretty scary to think that things are not accurate, but that's just the truth. And whatever statistics we bring are going to be straight from the medical community. So we have a tremendous amount of misdiagnoses, and therefore, when we don't get things in the early stages, then we need more serious medical intervention when things are found. So we want to completely change the concept of a yearly physical exam and make it truly a physical exam, because the thermogram is the only tool that I know of that can actually tell you the function of every single organ of the body, except for the spleen, and tell you the function of the major systems of the body, which is your circulatory system and your lymphatic system. So regulation thermography is a very powerful but non-invasive technique that allows you within a half hour to get a full 6-page report that will be full of very clear explanations and 2D pictures and bar graphs, so that every single possible way someone can learn, it is actually presented. So here's a list of the categories that the FDA has accepted this tool. Now, the interesting thing about a thermogram is that it is considered an adjunctive diagnostic tool, which is perfect for this new regime of holistic healing, because we don't look to diagnose. We look to clearly find out what is the cause and at what level is the interruption that is not allowing full expression of health, and then we can go forward from there. So this is used and accepted by leading holistic physicians all over the world. The largest holistic clinic in the world is the Paracelsus Clinic in Switzerland, which is run and founded by Dr. Thomas Rau, a very famous medical doctor. And on this slide, for those that can see it, there are many other quotes.
So for example, for those of you that are calling in, I just wanted to read you a quote by Dr. Ann Coleman, is a medical doctor here in the Dallas Metroplex area. She said, thermography helps to identify patterns of dysfunction even before we label or diagnose conditions. Early detection often prevents us from having to use more invasive or aggressive means of treatment. I use this information to assist me in prioritizing treatments and procedures for my patients.
So this next picture is a beautiful, and I hope you all take time, because we'll be emailing this presentation to view some of these. And this slide is perfect because it shows a tree, it shows all the branches, and then below it shows the roots. So above the ground is all of the symptoms that we might possibly have, or conditions that we're diagnosed with, whether it's diabetes or high blood pressure or a breast tumor or a thyroid problem. And then when you have the root system, it's showing what a thermogram reveals, whether you have heavy metals, whether you have lymphatic blockage, whether you have subclinical infections, which is one of the major things that we have now. And that can cause very simple symptoms that change, whether it's weight gain, whether it's sluggishness, whether it's hair loss, whether it's emotional imbalances. But this is going to reveal the cause, and you will know after this test exactly what is happening and where you need to go to work.
And this is important because, when you're diagnosed with something, that's great, but then don't you want to know why it's happening and where it's happening and how to prevent it for the future? I mean, these are the questions that I'm sure you've asked yourself at one time. Even when you get something like a cold, it's like, okay, but yeah, I get a cold and it's flu season, but then not everyone gets the flu and not everyone goes through that. So why am I getting sick every flu season, or why am I getting sick all the time, or where is it coming from? And it can be something as simple as a cold, and it can be something more serious. So we want to give you answers, and we want to give you ways of healing yourself. And one of the ways to start with is from the ground up.
And interestingly enough, people have stopped asking those questions because they've stopped getting answers. But when you ask a simple question, do you know the root cause of your health issues? It only makes practical sense that in order for me to facilitate a change of my health, I have to know what caused that change.
And so we challenge you, whenever with any of your doctors or practitioners or anything, when they say, oh yeah, you have so-and-so, or you have X, Y, and Z, then ask your doctor, okay, what caused it? Where did it come from? It didn't just come out of left field. And, it can't be just because I have a predisposition to it. There's a chain reaction of events that happened in the body that allowed for that perfect scenario to happen, to create those symptoms and those underlying clinical things that are happening.
So there are two major different types of thermograms. One is a camera thermography, and the other is regulation point thermography, which is what we offer. And this chart shows a comparison between the abilities and the depths of what it can actually accomplish. And camera thermography is quite limited in its use, and one of the reasons, as Matthew will share, is how it was originally designed to be used.
So originally it was designed for homes to determine whether or not something, the home was leaking hot or cold air. So that's where camera thermography actually came in, and that's what it was originally used for. And then eventually people started seeing it on bodies and they said, oh, that's interesting. And they started studying it a little bit and doing that kind of diagnostics, except the diagnostics really relies solely on a subjective view. So it's not objective, it's not mathematical, and it's not super scientific. It takes surface reading temperatures. So it doesn't actually go in depth to determine what the actual organ is doing. It can't actually look at every organ the way that regulation point thermography is. And the fact is, regulation point thermography also takes 119 points. So camera thermography definitely had its place, and it still does to a degree. However, this will allow you to see way more in depth what's going on and actually determine, without it being subjective, to be more objective. Like Dr. Michael had said at the beginning, that they did a 20,000 patient study many years ago and compared it, or I guess used it in conjunction with the with other medical devices to determine its credibility and its accuracy. And so that's what this can do.
And it's a very simple three-step procedure. There are specific instructions that are sent out that's very helpful for you to comply with in preparation for your thermogram. And you go into a temperature-controlled room. You slowly undress as we start doing points, starting with the head. And then you do 119 points. You wind up sitting in the room in your underwear for about 10 more minutes. And you go into a cooling period. And then the 119 points are done again. And then you're finished. And then immediately you have a 6-page printout report. So the next picture shows all of the points and the organs. It starts in the head. It does all the circulatory points of the internal carotid artery, the external carotid artery. It shows inflammation in the brain. It shows in the neck all of the lymphatic points. It does all the points on the breasts. Then it goes into the abdomen, does every single internal organ, goes into the lower abdomen, and then into the pelvis, does the kidneys in the back, checks the sacrum and the structure of the body. It's extremely meticulous and comprehensive. One of the biggest keys that has been uncovered, medically speaking, is gum disease and your health. And you can see on this slide that gum disease is related to virtually every single condition and changes of organs that we have. And I'll leave it at that. You can look at the slide and go into it as deep as you want. But the next slide is going to show the links to breast cancer, which is even more powerful. When you show that 93% of the women with breast cancer had root canals, that's an extremely high number. So the correlation between teeth, gum health, and the body is extremely well medically documented at this point. And the thermogram takes very deep profile of every single gum area and every single tooth. This is the cover of a very powerful book written in the mid-1990s. Dr. Goffman was a medical doctor and a PhD who was assigned to be the head of the Committee for Nuclear Responsibility. And anytime you go into a hospital and you have any imaging done, whether it's an X-ray or an MRI or a CAT scan, that's called nuclear imaging. And he basically succinctly wrote on the front page of this book that if we want to decrease breast cancer, all we have to, by 75%, all we have to do is stop exposing breasts to radiation. Now, one of the major systems that is completely ignored in our medical system is the lymphatics. And the lymphatics are a major system that run from head to toe. They run parallel to the blood, and they're extremely important because they are your immune system. They are a major part of your detoxification system, and they're a major part of your hormone or endocrine system. Plus, they transport all fats in the body. But yet, there is not one medical test to evaluate the lymphatic system. And interestingly enough, I don't believe to this day that there are any medications or drugs to doctor that system. So it is a complete system that is ignored. And yet, on a thermogram, there's like 22, 24, 26, 28 readings out of 119 that examine the health or the imbalances that are reflected in your immune system. Here's an example of the meticulousness of the diagnostic evaluation that shows with the breast analysis page. This is a 2D regulation overview. There's a legend of all the colors, and you have a nice picture representation. Then the next breaks it down into a signature grading system that allows you to visually see what are the factors that are affecting the breast the most. And it's a very simple, where red is severe, the orange is the moderate, and the yellow is the minimal. And it's very easy to see in this example that even if the breast appeared to be, from the patient's side, a problem, that it is not originating in the breast, that it is originating from some related organ or some distant related focal point that is affecting the breasts. And that is so valuable to know, again, where the cause is. Here we see the breast analysis breakdown page that has 13 criteria, even be more specific than the last page. And we have the same thing for men. We have a prostate analysis page where we have 9 criteria, and we have the ability to see what is affecting and where are the early changes and how can we prevent anything from taking place further down the road. The same is shown up with the cardiovascular assessment on a thermogram. Now, there have been many studies, I know we mentioned this earlier, where we have documented that things appear on a thermogram 7 to 10 years before any other type of diagnostic tool. Well, here again, the cardiovascular assessment is very specific. It does, like we mentioned earlier, the carotid artery. It does the timing, the electrical system of the heart. It does the pericardium, or the heart muscle itself. And it also has a myocardium alert and danger signal that can go off if things are going in the wrong direction. This, I love this cover of Time magazine. It's called The Secret Killer. And the whole issue had major articles talking about inflammation as being the first change that takes place in the body, regardless of the condition, whether it's acne, whether it's high blood pressure, whether it's fatigue, whether it's a thyroid condition, whether it's a hormone imbalance. The first thing that happens in the body is inflammation. Inflammation, you know, produces heat, and a thermogram measures temperature changes and heat. So it's just more validation of the power of the present day knowledge and the application of a thermogram to your health profile. We mentioned a little bit earlier subclinical infections. This is a huge key because sometime in our lives, we all get viruses or bacteria or yeast infections, and we produce symptoms. Well, then after the symptoms are gone, we think we're fine. But in reality, many factors can change the biochemical terrain of the body, which is also called the pH of the body, and allow those microbes to find a home somewhere. So these subclinical infections then can cause diarrhea, hair loss, fatigue, skin conditions. And we think that that's actually the problem. But in reality, the thermogram is going to reveal, again, why those symptoms are manifesting. So, simple question, do you feel like this tool could help you know your health better? I think it's a rhetorical question. I think the answer is very obvious. It's a very powerful tool that can be very helpful. The other tool that we want to talk about is the oligoscan. And this is a heavy metal test that has revolutionized heavy metal testing for several reasons. One is that it is more diagnostic than any other tool. It shows the actual intracellular content of heavy metals that are circulating in your body. It doesn't rely on a fecal matter test or a urine test or a hair test that are excreting by the body. This shows even beyond what the body can excrete, because it shows what is happening present time right now. And what has been revealed is, and there are many people who have dedicated their whole lives, and if you Google, if you YouTube, disruptive effects of aluminum, you could watch videos by major MDs and PhDs all over the world, because we live in an area of heavy metal and aluminum toxicity. And the effects of this are so devastating. The only one that we're really familiar with is Alzheimer's, but it has such a deep range of influence that even it reduces the effectiveness of medical treatments up to 60%. That alone is a very strong reflection of the power of these heavy metals. Now, we think, oh, how do I get exposed? Well, we're living in a fairly toxic planet. It's reflective in the next couple of slides that I'm going to share. One is taking fresh snowfall from Mount Shasta. Mount Shasta is in Northern California, pretty much centrally located, not near any major city whatsoever. Then when you cross over into the Oregon border, there still isn't any major cities. When they examined fresh snowfall, they found that the aluminum there was 100,000 times beyond the normal human limit. So it's everywhere. We have on here one of my favorite slides, which is the scientists in Antarctica who went and studied with our penguin brothers and sisters down there, and found when they examined their feathers that they had heavy metal toxicity. They found mercury at toxic levels in the penguins. We know that we've used in our growing of food in this country for many, many decades pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, rodenticides, all kinds of chemicals, and we are inundated in many, many ways. So when I first took my first oligoscan, it was a huge wake-up call to me to identify, as good as a lifestyle I've attempted to live, that I have more work to do myself. So we're always working for you. We're working to find new technology. We're working to find new remedies that are very gentle, and always looking to find new ways to serve.
And with that said, that gives you a good brief introduction into regulation thermography, the oligoscan, the heavy metal test, and Dr. Michael. Just to kind of recap, I just wanted to say that it's for both tests, they're non-invasive, they're painless, there's no radiation, and you get the results immediately. You're not waiting weeks on it, you're literally getting it right then and there, both your thermogram report, which is 7 pages, give or take, and then your oligoscan, which is 2 pages, and then you're doing the workup right then and there. So you don't have to wait like you do most tests. And just wanted to let you guys know, Don't worry about the book by the March 23rd date, clearly, because it's April. But you will get $100 off if you're just mentioning this whole webinar. Now, we are doing other different promotions with different clinics. So if you're with one of those clinics, you definitely cannot stack this $100. So it would definitely be one or the other. But if you're not receiving any discount as of right now, then you will definitely get $100 for watching this. Also, because we are a not-for-profit, you can actually deduct this from your taxes, not from medical taxes. It's like a donation. And the last thing that you can take advantage of, and I would definitely tell you that if you are even remotely serious, or even like you're thinking about it, even if you're not actually even serious about it, if you're like, oh yeah, I think about it, I would definitely recommend going tonight and going to the United Breast Cancer Foundation and looking up their breast screening grant and apply to the grant tonight. Because last 6 weeks ago when we went to California, I was telling people about this. They didn't jump on it. They waited the last minute and they ran out for the month. So they just opened back up for this month. And so I urge you to tell your friends or family that they can get an extra $150 off, up to, right, based off of your income. But it doesn't matter your age. So if you have a son that's 5 years old, if you have a grandfather that's 95 years old, it doesn't matter if your income is $100,000, you can still get something. They always give you some money.
And don't be deceived, even though it says United Breast Cancer Foundation grant, men can apply.
Yes, men and women can apply. That's why I said the last one is or gender. It doesn't matter your gender. Right. So please do not be discouraged. I don't care how much money you make. Everyone receives money. I think the last person that didn't believe me made, I think, over $300,000 and still received $40. So, you know, every little bit helps. I would say it's free money. The only thing that you have to do is put down a $5 donation and then fill out an application, and then you receive money. Many people have done it, so I encourage you that you should do it. And definitely if you have friends or family that are low income and are thinking, oh man, I can't afford something like this, they can watch this webinar, claim the $100, then claim the $150. That's $250 off, and that makes it very doable.
And honestly, the application is extremely simple. I'm going to recollect it took me about 2.5 minutes to fill it out. So now we'd like to open up to see if there's any questions that anyone might have and want to ask, whatever it is. Feel free.
So feel free to unmute yourselves, or I can definitely do it. So, all right, I just unmuted everyone. So feel free to please ask any questions that come from where you are personally in your health that you're just curious about, or curious about thermography or anything.
This is Roger House. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
I mean, I guess I hope that everyone can hear us.
I can hear you, but I don't think they can hear us.
My cell phone is off mute and no one can hear me talking. Don't know why. I'll hang up and redial. Okay. Can you hear us? No, John, I can't hear anything. Sorry. If you want to type it, I don't know why we're not able to hear anyone right now. Let me just check my volume. Maybe my volume is off. Yeah, it is.
This is Roger.
All right. Can everyone, I know that everyone can hear us, so can everyone speak now?
I can hear you now.
All right, John, I can hear you too.
Okay, excellent.
Hello, this is Roger House. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Roger, I can hear you.
Hey, I've been unmuted. What a concept. I like it. So I wanted to say, first of all, thank you, gentlemen. My knowledge base has been increased to know that men have breasts as well as women.
It is a new discovery. I appreciate that myself.
So actually, I do have a couple questions. Can I butt in right now?
Yes, go for it.
Okay, cool. You know, my sister Joey turned me on to this, and you know, in a couple hours before this call, I just did a layperson kind of search and spoke to a couple naturopaths, et cetera, about the technology, and they all agree that thermography is a great diagnostic tool. They also said that, you know, the camera one is a little less, you know, specific, and a lot of women use it for mammograms. But the question they kind of had to ask me was, why is yours so complete? In other words, those 119 points, is that your protocol that you've come up with?
No.
Versus you go through, you Google, thermography in Orange County, and you get people saying, $100, $200 for a visit kind of thing. So how do you guys differentiate yourself from what's out there?
Okay, there's basically two different kinds of thermograms. One is a camera thermogram, which has no ability to do any internal organs at all of your body.
So
the other is our regulation point thermography, which does the function of every single organ in your body.
So Roger, what I would definitely suggest doing is calling any of those places and asking them, when they pick up the phone, say, you guys offer thermography, they'll say yes. And then you say, do you offer regulation point thermometry or thermography, or do you offer camera thermography or IR, which is infrared thermography? If they come back and say IR or camera thermography, then that is not what we have been presenting on tonight. Now, if they come back and they are claiming that they can give you a test for $200 for regulation point thermography, I guess my only next question is, how long have they been doing it? Because I feel like that would be extremely important to know, since Dr. Michael has done over 20,000 thermograms. But then my next question is, make sure they actually have the most recent one. So there's an Alpha 3000, I believe. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that it's an Alpha 9000 that is the most recent equipment, because there's a lot of old, and the Alpha 3000 is like over 10 years old. So there's a lot of patients that will come to us and be like, oh yeah, I did this type of thermography, this and that, and it was regulation point. And then when we get into it, they'll tell us that it's a 10-year-old version of it.
So to answer your question more specifically, you will know exactly the function of your liver. You will know the function of your pancreas, the function of your prostate. You will know if there is the presence of heavy metals in your body. You will know if there are subclinical viral infections, bacterial infections, yeast infections, or Lyme disease. I mean, you will know if there's environmental toxicity in your body. I mean, it's really day and night. In reality, there's no comparison between the two technologies.
Right. And for a layperson like myself, would it be, second grade knowledge level of all this, would it be simplified to say that it's all based upon inflammation / heat, and that's what this thing is picking up? Sometimes inflammation is a precursor. Sometimes inflammation means it's already activated.
Anytime you're dealing with temperature, you can have inflammation, but that is only one aspect. Meaning, you can have a liver that is not heated, but that is degenerating and it's totally cold. You can have a prostate that is totally cold and degenerative. So, yes, heat is the simplification of it. Yes, inflammation is the first change that takes place in any symptom in the body. But you have to be able to identify specifically what is happening. And camera thermography has no ability to evaluate any internal organ.
Comprendo.
Okay.
So now, obviously, this is a diagnostics tool. And so, once you get the diagnostics, then the proof is in the pudding of what do you do with it. So a naturopath that I know said she uses thermography, if I said it right, I'm sorry. I don't know if it's camera or not, because I didn't know that much knowledge to ask her. But she says she uses it as a first step. In other words, let's diagnose with this. But then you still have to have, the IQ to figure out what to do about it. And so, other than diagnostics, you guys also, are you the people that then, so let's say I've got to determine if my endocrine system is off, or it's my hormones, my testosterone, my thyroid, whatever it is, then do I then have to find an allopath or a alternative practitioner to try and heal, or do you guys also take on the healing portion of it after it's diagnosed?
So when you have the ability tomorrow to look at the PowerPoint, you will see that it says thermogram with full workup is $799. So full workup means we will come out and you will receive a comprehensive, detailed, step-by-step, specific plan on what we will do to remedy all of the findings.
And
Okay.
and Roger, included in that, in the price is Dr. Michael is going to be extending himself to whoever for the first, couple of weeks. So, you can text, you can call, ask him questions. Hey, does this work? Does that work? Can we double check this? What does this mean again? Whatever you all or anybody would need, we will definitely extend ourselves fully because we know that it's a big investment and you're getting a lot of information. And then like I don't know if you heard it from the beginning, but the follow-up visit would be, anywhere between 3 and 6 weeks after. And when that follow-up visit occurs, it would only cost $150. In addition to that, if you have your own doctor after the appointment, we are happy to get on the phone and connect with them about any information. Like, we're open books, man. So whatever you like, if you're like, okay, this was great, I appreciate it, I'm going to check with my doctor because I've been working with him for 20 years. Great. Check with them and then have them call me and be happy to go through any of the findings, why I said what I said, why I did what I did, where it came from, and give you the exact protocol that I gave to you so that you guys can work together, and I'll be happy to answer and help in any way that I can.
And to be able to do that brings great joy to my heart to serve other physicians. I've trained over 200 physicians just in thermography, and I love doing it. I love sharing the knowledge because I believe it's something that every single human being needs to have done every year.
So then does your arsenal include, obviously diet is part of the protocol, I'm assuming.
Yes.
And then do you guys actually prescribe medications or,
yes,
herbs? Okay.
Yes. It's a complete, when you walk out of there, you're going to know why things are happening, where they're happening, to what degree are they happening, how serious and how much attention I need to pay, and what I need to do about it on all levels of life. Not only the physical plane, the dietary plane, sometimes the emotional plane, and sometimes we prescribe just having fun.
Do you write a prescription for having more fun that I can give to people to fulfill?
Absolutely.
Cool.
And Roger, by the way, great questions. I mean, seriously, the difference between, how do you have the conversation with someone that offers them and being able to actually determine, what are the 1 or 2 questions to ask is very important. And I think that's a great question on getting a full definition of what we're offering and what the full workup means. Because I think, I don't want anyone to walk away from this presentation thinking, oh, well, I'm paying $799 for what exactly? I'm just getting diagnostics, and then now I'm going to have all these questions, or, I'll have some answers, or they're not willing to work with my doctor. And that's absolutely all untrue, or, so I think you're asking a lot of great questions.
And you mentioned you have a naturopath who uses some kind of thermography. Just give them my phone number, which you'll receive tomorrow from Matthew and take down right now. And I'd love to talk to them and explain to them the difference. And hopefully they're open to receiving and growing and getting a new tool in their toolbox to serve people.
Well, I wouldn't put you through the horror of talking to my allopathic MDs because I don't.
No, you have to understand, Roger, they won't pick up the phone and call. So we don't have to worry about it. I've done this for 40 years. So I understand their world and I respect their world. And usually if they wanted to communicate, they would be an open-minded, holistic physician.
So what I'm using right now for my diagnostics is Allopass for blood labs and, X-rays, CAT scans, et cetera. But then I'm using QXCI and Orion Rife technology, you know, for biofeedback loops, and then healers, all sorts of woo-woo things in terms of, you know, energetic protocol and scanning and things like that. So if we do hook up, I would not be hooking you up to any allopaths.
No, I understand. I'm talking about any kind of doctor, whether they're a chiropractor, whether they're a Reiki specialist, whether they're a body worker, whether they're using a Rife machine. We all talk the same language. They'll love to learn about this technology because it's going to give them clues and hints and clarity on where to work and help you even faster.
So, but unlike Rife machinery, it doesn't pick up on frequencies, is what I'm getting here, right?
It picks up on function.
Okay.
And it prioritizes. Rife does not prioritize.
Cool. So, oh, that's interesting. Good point.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to monopolize the conversation.
No. Feel free. Keep going.
I had a.
Well, there's other people.
We'll get to everybody. I'm not going to leave until everyone's done.
Okay. Go ahead. I'll pause for a while for someone else to step in.
Who else had a question?
Can you guys hear me? This is John.
Hi, John.
How are you?
Great. What can we answer for you?
Good. So I'm a patient of Dr. Candido.
Okay.
Carlsbad, and that's how I became aware of your guys' webinar and technology. And just kind of to parlay off of what Roger was saying, as far once you get the diagnostic information, you would work with us and plus our physician. What is the kind of a typical, I guess, treatment plan consist of? Is it supplements? Is it chiropractic care? Is it a combination of both like Western traditional medicine and, you know, holistic medicine? I was just kind of curious on what that looks like.
It's a good question. Number one, I work and have increased my communication and relationship with Dr. Candido over the last 6 months. So we are regular email buddies now, and we discuss many patients on a regular basis. She is an extremely holistically open-minded, beautiful healthcare practitioner. And so we review the results completely together. And then I tell her what my recommendations are. And then she proceeds to implement as many as she can with the patient while adding her own expertise on top of what we have found.
Okay, that makes
In addition
sense.
to that, John, I know that you asked a secondary question, which is, you know, what do you typically prescribe? It's very individual. Everyone is so different on whether or not they have a strong constitution because of genetics, or maybe they're susceptible to this or that. Or, I mean, no, you know, thumbprints are the same, no snowflakes are the, I mean, you guys are, I mean, everyone is so unique, and that's what you'll never be able to take two people, even from the same family, even if they were twin brothers, and do this test and get the same results.
That's the magic of a thermogram. You can do blood and either you're normal or abnormal. When you do a thermogram, it'll tell you exactly the function of any organ that you might think is normal, and you'll know whether it needs to be strengthened, whether it's getting weaker, or whether it's overworking, and you need to just feed it and give it nutritional support.
So, for example, a lot of people feel, oh, well, I feel great, I don't need to get a thermogram. However, because this is a preventative diagnostic tool, it's telling you subtle, very subtle things from 7 to 10 years prior. So even if you feel great, I would say this would be a great tool, because this is giving you a huge view into your future of where it's going if you continue on what it is that you're doing, for good or for bad.
Great point. Good question. Thank you.
Yeah, because I've had the experience of, you know, seeing a traditional doctor getting blood tests, him like looking at one factor in my liver, and then basically saying I'm like, I have a diseased liver. And then I would like go to Dr. Candido. She's like, this guy's way wrong.
Correct. And we see that every day. Every day.
Yeah, so I'm trying to find, just to get more accuracy, because I do like to do the tests, blood tests. At least that's what I've been doing with Dr. Candido, on a yearly basis, just to check and see where my levels are, just more to as preventative health, but also to kind of try to hack my system so I can perform better.
Well, John, it's interesting because one of the things Dr. Candido shared with me that she was so excited about is that this test is going to save patients thousands of dollars, because she's not going to need to do as many diagnostic procedures and exams and tests as she has in the past.
Yeah, the blood test can start to add up if you don't have the right insurance.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean, just the blood test can cost basically $1,000 or more.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's a wonderful practitioner, and you're blessed to have connected with her.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for answering my question.
Oh, thank you. Roger, you got anything more hanging in the wings there, buddy?
Yeah. You're going to rue the day you unmuted me. But
No, when you ask, other people learn.
okay.
So Roger,
go ahead.
Definition
Yes,
of a doctor, if you look it up in the dictionary, it says to teach.
Okay.
So it's my pleasure to serve and fulfill. Now go ahead and ask.
So I just like to use one situation to see kind of like how, I like a litmus test as to how you would approach it. So both my sister and I have stomach issues, and you can over the, digestive things. And so over the years, you can throw in the diagnosis: irritable bowel syndrome, SIBO, leaky gut syndrome, you're crazy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if I do this, I know I'm gonna show inflammation in situations in the gut and other organs down there. So the question is, the normal protocol is you do all the regular diagnostic tests, of poop tests or blood work, and you isolate the particular critter, and then you go after the critter, or you do probiotics and try and do that. So like your diagnostics on that, there's thousands of bacteria and critters and bad guys and fighting with the good guys. How would you approach treating that once you find out that there's inflammation in the gut, no matter what label you put on it as to what it is?
Great question. I love that question, Roger, because the critter is not the cause. The critter is producing symptom. So, for example, when we took microbiology, they gave us these agar dishes that was handed out to everyone in our class, and we were assigned to go to different areas of the university campus, open the dish, swab the air, close back the dish, bring it back to the lab, let it grow in an enclave for 3 days, and then find out what was in there. We grew every single major disease. So our professor said, "What did you guys learn?" And we said, "Well, since none of us have that disease and we all breathed in all that air, then I guess we live symbiotically with all of those microbes because our immune system is intact."
Right.
So now the question is not what microbe is in your gut. Where is the immune system breaking down? And then when you know the cause of something, the body can get stronger and then be able to eliminate any microbe that is there. Now,
I like that answer.
we don't help the body during this process? Definitely we do. If someone comes in, they've had diarrhea for 6 years, we're going to help them eliminate their symptom. But at the same time, we're going to go after the cause so that we can gift to them back their health by strengthening the system or systems that need to be made stronger.
I like that answer. It sounds really elegant.
You know, I've been doing this a few decades.
He's rehearsed it for about 40 years now, and he just let it go.
Well, I mean, what it is it's a tapestry. I mean, my definition of religion, not to get too personal, is that this body actually works. I mean, it's crazy how many zeros of things have to happen in that zillion nanoseconds of a time for this whole thing to function.
Correct.
So it's the body electric. It's the body electric, truly. So what I heard about this that I really liked is it stack ranks things for priorities. So in other words, if you have hormonal situations, well, is it in the brain? You know, is it coming from the pineal? Why is the thyroid screwed up? In other words, chicken and egg. So like with either hormonal blackouts or gut instabilities, it's like if you can go after the cause, the root cause, instead of chasing the tail of the symptoms, that's where I've been stuck for a long time.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And that's why it's so exciting when both holistic practitioners of any kind get real excited when they hear about this kind of testing. They just light up because it's an answer. And this is why this is the original functional medicine test created for functional medicine professionals.
Now, what about taking into account pre-existing? Well, let's just, I have had DNA swabs, and so I have a really smart naturopath who does some testing, esoteric blood labs, and we've come to a conclusion on me that a couple of my issues might be a genetic kind of predisposition thing.
Everything from the hair on the top of your head to your toenails is genetic. Don't tell anybody.
It'll be our secret.
It's our secret. So what we know medically, scientifically, not holistically, that every day you have the potential to change your DNA expressions depending on thought, environment, perception, spiritual connection, psychological orientation, food, exercise, all of it. And they've proven the change in DNA is extremely tangible and documentable.
Yeah, if you want, Roger, a good one is What the Bleep.
Yeah, seen it.
Yeah,
Okay.
What the Bleep is great.
Well,
Yeah, John said Bruce Lipton, which, yeah. It's
and
so
Bruce
true.
Lipton. Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Familiar with him.
Yep. So
Okay, so it sounds like
you
you
can
guys
spend a
agree.
fortune on DNA testing, but the reality is all I got to do is change my thinking and I'll change my DNA tomorrow. Gets exciting.
Yep.
So what about besides health? Like, I'm also curious about, you mentioned pineal and stuff like that. So have you noticed working with people as their health improves, do their like intuitive gifts and like intuition, things like that improve as well? Or are you guys tracking anything like that?
If the person has that natural orientation in that direction, it has been very, very often to see those skills come to a higher state of evolution as they evolve. Yes.
Cool. Very cool.
When you eliminate microbes, when you eliminate heavy metals, you change frequency. As you raise frequency, then you change perception. Then you're ready to receive whatever the next level is for your journey.
Would you say that more people are carrying around heavy metals than they realize? Or
Absolutely. And I, for one, was in shock when I did my oligo scan. Shock, because I've eaten organic for 30 years. My water's purified, my shower's purified. My wife is very meticulous, and yet my heavy metals were pretty high. So it's a toxic world, and we got to be awake to it, and we got to be proactive.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna, if I do this, I'm gonna also do the heavy metal, because I had like about 10, 15 years ago, all the amalgam fillings taken out of my mouth, just because,
Right.
you know, it made sense. But I have a sneaking suspicion that maybe, like Chernobyl, he didn't take them out right. You know what I mean?
I mean, even if they did, I'm sure we're going to have a lot of fun meeting you and doing your heavy metal scan. Regardless of teeth. I see people full of heavy metals who have never had an amalgam in their mouth.
Okay.
And just so that you know.
Fiji water, the designer water, the water of choice for the wealthy, has been documented to have the highest content of arsenic over any bottled water in the world.
So in general, you guys are going to recommend some system like a Kangen on general principle alone.
Correct. But I'll check each person to see what their body vibrates with, to see what kind of water they need and resonates with them the most.
So sometimes it is Kagan, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's distilled or reverse osmosis or structured or reverse osmosis and structured water.
It varies,
It
like
varies.
all of us vary.
So with some of the technology I've used, you know, there's appendages to it that you plug and play, and you bring your product and then you muscle test or whatever the technology is to see what product resonates the most. Like, you know, is it going to be
I have people, they can bring in all of their supplements, and I'll check every single one of their supplements for them.
with the technology?
No, with
or
me.
with
I've been doing kinesiology for 30 years.
Okay, so you'll be muscle testing that stuff.
Yes.
Got it. Well, that's an added benefit.
Yes. More questions you ask, the more bennies you're going to hear. And we're very user-friendly. We give a lot of hugs.
Okay, cool. And so I live in Mission Viejo, so it'd probably be best for me to do the Carlsbad thing.
Yeah.
And I would say with Carlsbad, Roger, I would definitely jump on it sooner rather than later, only because we're there the least amount of days in all of our travel. And I know that Caroline Candido is definitely referring a lot of her patients in. So probably just so you know, I'm not definitely no pressure and at all, but I just wanted to be upfront so that you don't miss out if this is something you're interested in.
And both of you gentlemen are in Texas in most of your time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Got it. So your California World Tour is just like once a year or something, or?
This is our third this year so far.
Got it.
Yeah, we've been going out there pretty much every 6 weeks.
So where are you guys going to be in Carlsbad? Actually at Dr. Candido's office, or?
Yeah, she opens her office every time we've come.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we still need to schedule through Raquel?
Yes.
Okay.
So at that first visit, do you want somebody to come in as a clean slate, or do you want some type A anal retentive person like me to bring you 35 reams of PowerPoint presentations of past history along with 3 bags of supplements?
Oh, they can, I mean, whatever you feel is going to make you feel fulfilled. I don't inhibit anyone from expressing themselves.
Okay. Well, I just, sometimes it's a philosophical thing, is don't tell me anything and let me just have the beginner's eyes and see what I see without any preconceived ideas.
No, we cater to whatever the patient needs. So for example,
Patient needs.
We've had patients come in and say, don't tell me what's wrong, just tell me what I need to do. I don't want to learn anything. I don't want to know anything. And just so that you know, that's usually doctors that come in and say that. We have some people that want to know everything and communicate with us nonstop. And so it just varies depending on what it is that you need, but however you want to express in order to get your answers so that you feel like it's complete, then that's great. And the other thing is in the first visit, it won't feel complete. You'll have more questions afterwards, which is why we have the price is where it's at, because we know you're going to have questions afterwards, and he's going to make himself very readily available for the 3 weeks afterwards.
And so Joey told me that she had spoken to one of you, I don't know, earlier today.
Spoke to me.
Okay. And her takeaway to me was, A, you're cool guys. Anybody who mentions Carlos Castaneda is all right in my book. and B, that it's like a 30-day diet. So there's TLC, back and forth for the first 30 days. And I was wondering, that's obviously all inclusive in the pricing, and that $150 for a next session is only if you need a rescan. But the TLC of follow-up and talking and protocol, that's kind of included in the initial price?
Not kind of, is included. And then after the 30 days, for example, if we need to recheck things, it's not to do another thermogram. It's for him to do muscle testing and connect with you on whether or not you need to stay on your protocol, get off, add things, take away things,
or go to the next level. Or go to the next level. So I have people and patients all over the country. So I have received the gift to remotely check people using kinesiology.
Right. Okay. Got it. So it's a remote tap in.
Yeah. And the fact is, you just can't fix everything in one fell swoop. The body takes time to move things, to strengthen things, and then to go to the next level of strengthening the next organ. So we work at the highest priority, and then we go from there. And sometimes we need to work on 2 or 3 different levels, and sometimes the body just says, nope, just focus here, and then let's recheck in 3 weeks, because the future is hard to check. So we don't want to say check in 6 months from now. We want to say, no, let's check in 3 weeks from now and do that dance.
Got it.
Great.
Interesting. Thank you very much for taking all the times and answering my questions. And I appreciate you sending that PowerPoint so I can dive into that. And then I'll go to the breast, website and register. And interesting. And I'll sleep on it and let you know.
All righty. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Take care. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Roger.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So how come some, hold on.